Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Now looking for this week's lesson in Sarf. Today we are continuing with the way that different kinds of asma are built. We looked before at the ismul fa'il, the way that you make a word to indicate the doer of an action, the name of the doer of an action, and that's the pattern fa'il, like darib means a person who hits. And then we also looked at the ismul mubalagha or sighatul mubalagha that gives the same meaning as ismul fa'il, the doer of an action, but with more emphasis. And we looked at some of those patterns. So an example of that is from the same word darib, the one that is a hitter, I guess you could say, is darrab, the person that hits all the time. Or also you could say darub, the person who is always hitting. Today, the first thing we're going to look at is the ismul maf'ul, and that's basically the opposite of the ismul fa'il. Ismul fa'il is the name for the doer of an action derived from that action. So it's always, these words are always derived from the fa'il, from the verb. The ismul maf'ul is the name derived from the verb for the one that the verb is done to. So if we take that same verb, daraba, then and we put it in this maf'ul pattern, we get madrub. So madrub means a person who is hit, the one who the action is done to. So we have here our 6 patterns. Madrub, a person who was hit. Madrubani, 2 people that were hit. Madrubuna, a group of people that were hit. Madrubatun, a woman that was hit. Madrubatani, 2 women that were hit. And madrubatun, a group of women that were hit. So that's me plugging the verb daraba into these patterns. Those patterns are maf'ulun for huwa, maf'ulani for huma, maf'uluna for hum, maf'ulatun for hiya, maf'ulatani for 2 women for huma, and maf'ulatun for hunna, for a group of women. So memorize those patterns. This is something you'll come across a lot, the ismul maf'ul. Also we have the sifatul mushabbaha, and that I won't go into too much detail right now, but just be familiar with the definition for it. That is something similar to ismul mubalagha, except that ismul mubalagha can give the meaning of an action being done over and over and over again. Like we said, darub means somebody that's always hitting people. Sifatul mushabbaha is a word that gives the meaning of having a trait. It's for emphasis, right? It's for emphasis like mubalagha, but it's a trait that is always present. And the most common pattern for sifatul mushabbaha is fa'il, and it like on the same pattern as rahim. So for example, kareem, to be noble. If you say that somebody is kareem, that they're noble, you mean this is a trait that is very apparent in them and it's always there. It's not something that comes and goes. So a few examples of, there's many patterns for sifatul mushabbaha, but fa'il is the most common, like kareem, and then also fa'alun, like sa'abun, and also fa'alun, like hasanun. Just remember a couple of those and be familiar with it. And when we come across this in readings, we'll explain it more. But just remember at least these 3 patterns. Fa'ilun, like kareemun, to be noble. Fa'alun, like hasanun, to be nice or pleasant or beautiful. And fa'alun, like sa'abun, to be difficult. And here we have those patterns that I just mentioned for you. Hasanun, on the pattern fa'alun. So hasanun means something to be pleasant or nice or beautiful. And sa'abun means for something to be difficult. That's on the pattern of fa'alun. Shadidun, that's that fa'ilun, that most common pattern, means for something to be intense or strong. Hurrun, to be free. Ghayurun, to be jealous. At least memorize these first 3. فعل فعل and فعيل حسن وصعب وشديد, and inshallah we'll talk more about those as we come across them. Then the third thing for today and our last thing is going to be ism tafdeel. So ism tafdeel is the ism that comes for the meaning of being more than something else. And so that pattern is af'alu. And the easy way to remember that is the most common word that we always come across on this pattern is akbaru. Like Allahu Akbar. Allah is greater. If you have this pattern with the alif and lam on it, al-af'alu, then it means the most, whatever word you put in that pattern. So like akbaru comes from kabir, which means to be great or to be big or to be, important. Al-akbaru means the greatest. If you say just akbaru by itself and then you put a min after it from, means greater than. So this pattern can come for al-af'alu, the most of whatever, the meaning is that you plug into this pattern, or af'alu min, more than, and then you put something else there. So for example, you can say, Allahu akbaru min kulli shay'in. Allah is greater than everything. Or you can say, Allah al-akbar. Allah is the greatest. So it comes with those two meanings, depending on if you use it with the alif lam or if you use it with a min after it. And when you say Allahu akbar, it's implied like that min is after it. Like the meaning is Allah is greater than everything. So af'alu is for huwa, greater. Af'alu is the tafdil for huwa. Af'alani for huma, for two. Af'aluna for hum, for a group. And also afa'ilu, afa'ilu. So for hum, you have two patterns. Af'aluna and afa'ilu. And then for feminine, for hiya, we have fu'la. And then for two women, or two feminine objects, fu'yalani. And then for plural, feminine, we have fu'alun and fu'layatun. So memorize those patterns. Af'alu, af'alani, af'aluna, and then also afa'ilu, and then fu'la, fu'yalani, fu'alun, fu'layatun. Generally, mostly you'll only come across af'alu or fu'la. That's generally what you'll come across. Because usually this pattern is used in the singular form, either for male or for feminine. So example for fu'la, like kubra, ayatina al-kubra, our greatest ayat. So memorize these patterns. Memorize the patterns for ismul maf'ul, and that's just like in the name, maf'ul. And then for maf'ulani, maf'uluna, maf'ulatun, maf'ulatani, maf'ulatun. Then also know that we have something called as-sifatul mushabbaha, and that is similar to ismul mubalagha. It's for emphasis, but it comes for traits that are always present in something. And some examples of that are kareem, to be a noble person, on the pattern fa'il. Then also hasanun, to be nice or beautiful or pleasing, on the pattern of fa'alun. And then also sa'abun, to be difficult, on the pattern of fa'lun. And then lastly, the third thing for us today, ismut tafdil, on the pattern af'alu, like akbaru. And then if we want to conjugate that for two things, af'alani, for a group, for plural, af'aluna, and then also a second way to make for plural, afa'ilu. And then for singular feminine, fu'la, for two feminine, fu'layani. And then for plural feminine, again we have two options, fu'alun and fu'layatun.